today's lesson. I got the lesson wrote out here. I'm going to read a little bit to you. We're going to do an exercise. And after the exercise is when we'll have our conversation, where I'll ask you some questions, get some thoughts and everything from you. So I know it's a little different. Typically I read a little bit, talk a little bit, and then ask some questions, but I'm going to do that a little different this time. And this is about spiritualism. And it begins with people ask, why are not all mediums? Why can't all get communication? Why is it that one can get a communication at one time and can't do it at another time? Well, the idea here is that we have to become familiar with the conditions that are required. They call these the natural principles of mediumship, or the natural principles of communication. Because they tell us that we must be in correspondence with the soul communicating with us. And this is an old phraseology that they say here, in correspondence. When we hear correspondence now, we think about writing. Writing a letter, that's correspondence. But they're talking about communication. And what some of these definitions that they used to imply this type of correspondence is sympathetic, positive or negative, and harmonic. So if you read through these old books, you may not get it the first time around. I didn't. I had to read it a few times and had to think about it. You know how that goes. So our spiritualist teachers used different labels for what they were trying to convey. And much of what they were trying to convey was information that flowed through them from these souls, telling us, instructing us how to commune with them, how to learn from them. So when they talk about positive and negative, they're using these electrical terms. If you've done any kind of wiring, you've got a hot wire, and then you have a neutral wire or a negative wire. And in order for the hot wire to be of any use, it has to have that neutral or negative or ground wire. I mean, if you touch a live wire, if you're grounded, you're going to feel it, buddy. But that current needs that circuit to be complete. It needs that negative line there to draw it through and allow it to return. And that's what they're talking about. And they tell us that with them being souls, they have to bring their nerve system into sympathy with ours. And we take their sensations upon ourselves. That's how this communication works sometimes. When I was doing a mediumship service the other week, maybe it was the other quarter, I don't know. It was a very productive one. And I had several souls come in, and I could feel them upon me. Some of them were very talkative. And it's not something that I encounter a lot. Usually, they're very, stoic. They stand there and they give their messages and everything. But the last time we did this mediumship service, they were a pretty lively bunch. And it was an interesting experience. But what they're sharing with us is that we have to be sympathetic to each other. And what they mean by sympathetic, they're talking about empathy. And I've shared some thoughts about empathy before. Now with empathy, it's all emotional. In order for you to be empathetic with someone, to be truly empathetic, you have to be emotionally involved. And when you are connected with them. And they use the term sympathetic. When the two of you are sympathetic, when one experiences a pain, and the way they describe it here is a pain in the head, a headache, you're going to experience that same headache. Not necessarily to that same degree, but the characteristics will be similar. Where it's at, where it emanates from, will be similar. And that's what they're talking about, is coming into alignment with it, harmonizing with it. And this is how empathy works. And we've all, most of us, I won't say all, but most of us, because there are some people that are unable to experience this, but most of us, when we're watching television or something, and a real good one is when somebody starts vomiting. You know, you can just feel that sensation in your stomach starting to heave. And, maybe the taste in your mouth. And Beth here is making all kinds of faces. That's empathy in action. That's what it is. That's an extreme example, but that's what it is. When we walk by a homeless person, and they may look really overly disheveled, more so than before, or typical, I should say. And you feel something when you see that. You experience something. That's empathy. That's what they're trying to communicate to us. That's what they're trying to tell us. We get this information, and not a word has escaped from our lips. And as we continue to read with this material, they tell us that in all communications, there must be a medium of conveyance. The books that we read, the medium is the writing utensil and the paper. Voice, when we're talking, the medium here is the oscillations of the sound, of the tension of air going across our vocal cords, and the atmosphere carries that to the ear. So they're telling us there must be a medium for this information to move through. And when we're communicating with souls, that medium is what allows our emotions to be felt. Now, the early spiritualists called this a magnetic force. Some of the Eastern philosophies call this the aura. In science has discovered this field, and they recognize this field. In fact, they're doing research into this field. They call it the biofield. Of course, we simply call it energy. But it's this medium that they commune with, that we come into alignment with, that we harmonize with. And it's our affections, our emotions, that are the means of opening a dialogue with these souls. And it's if we become sympathetic, if we become negative, if we become receptive, they adjust their vibration to ours. They adjust where they're at. They adjust themselves to us, to our harmony, our chord. And a chord is some of the examples that they use. And chord is very good because with a chord, you don't have to be right on, but you are close. When you harmonize, when music harmonizes with that chord, it's got several notes in it. And that's the important thing to consider. We don't come into full alignment with it. We just come into range. And we're going to do a bit of an exercise. And what we are going to do is, I want you, it's very similar to what we did earlier. Because a lot of times when we think that we have to become receptive, it's like standing in one place. Or we intellectualize everything too much. And that's where I was at for a good portion of my life doing mediumship work. I was under the impression, emotions always got me in trouble. So I pushed those emotions out. I didn't use those emotions very much, and I stuck with my intellect. Everything had to make sense. Of course, it still has to make sense. But when you open yourself up, when you attempt to open yourself up, we have to bring emotions into it. And it's certain emotions. Our psychologists have labeled our emotions as high and low, or positive and negative. And we're going to use that area there because it's already there. Most of us understand it. So if you use your mind, your mental ability, your intellectual abilities here to become receptive, it works, but it's not going to work as well as it could. So you can't just close things down. We like to, I don't know, I can't say we like to. I can say I used to assume this I can't think of the rest of it. Non-active. Not really passive, but not really active. Just neutral. That's it, neutral. We can't be neutral in this. We have to be invested. And the best way to be invested in this is through our emotions. And our emotions have a lot to do with this, a lot more than we might think. Because if I'm in a depressed mood, I can't do message work very well. In fact, there was one time when I was doing mediumship service here, and I was having all kinds of problems all week, and it just carried in with me, and I was feeling blah. I had to stop doing the message work. I had to do something altogether different to get my emotions into the place where they needed to be. To raise the vibration is what they would say. To raise the vibration. You have to be emotionally involved in this. And not overly emotional. Not like you see me right now, just bouncing around and pulling that emotions through me and pulling it down. You don't have to do that. But the best way to become involved is just like we did earlier. Remember those sensations that you experienced when you were nurturing others. The care that you felt towards that person. Or maybe it was just the care of serving itself. Maybe not towards that person, but that sensation of assisting others, of being important, of making a difference to them. Because people really, they measure life by, some of them, I should say some of them, measure their life by the little things. When I visit with my mother, I take her out to lunch. I will bring an onion, just a small onion, because she doesn't like to buy onions or anything. It's these little bitty things. Make a cigarette run for her. It's these little bitty things that make the impression upon them. And while I don't think a whole lot about it, she does. And when others are doing it for us, when we are being nurtured by others, there's that sensation that we feel. When my brain did its thing, I was riding in someone's car, I don't recall who, and I was looking out, and they were carrying me to the doctor, because I couldn't drive. You know, we are ingrained with this whole idea of being independent. Do it yourself. And here I am in a position to where I can't do it for myself. So I have to depend on others. And we don't like that in this country. We don't like having to depend on others because we feel that either we are at a disadvantage or we are imposing ourselves on them. And when we take that approach, when we feel like that, we've destroyed a lot because that's not it. That's not what the life experience is about. It's about nurturing others, helping others. And that feeling you get when you help someone, that feeling you get when others help you, that's where you should start. That's the best place to start. And we're going to do a little meditation here. It's not going to be a guided meditation. It's just music. If you care to open your eyes and watch, hopefully the internet will stay together. But, there's a video with it. So if you open your eyes and you gaze at it, you got something to look at. But what I want you to do, it's about 10 minutes. I want you to focus on that sensation of being nurtured. Not nurturing others, but being nurtured. Because we have to become the negative. We have to become the one being acted upon. And they will adjust their field, their energy, however you choose to describe it. They will adjust that to yours as long as you are receptive in a negative state. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Sandy? Reverend Thomas? Dylan, you understand? Okay. So, that's what we're going to do. Now, while you are doing this, you may get some thoughts that might come into your mind. You may not be sure where they come from. They won't be yours. Sometimes the voice that you hear will sound like yours, but it'll be slightly different. Or you may be impressed upon, they may impress their image upon your visual cortex, and you will see them. But something will happen. It may be very subtle, it may be dramatic, but something will happen. But I just want you to draw those memories up where others are helping you, and remember how that felt, and immerse yourself in that, and be mindful of who comes to you. want you to find yourself a pencil and paper and write down everything that let you experience the sensations. You don't have to get into the details, but make sure you write down enough that when you read it over, it will jog your memory. I'm not going to ask you what you received, because that's personal. But when you get a moment, I will ask about your experience. Now, spiritualism is said to be a philosophy, a science, and a religion. And earlier, that little bit I shared with you, that's the philosophy, part of the philosophy of spiritualism. And what I talked about, what I explained, that's the science of spiritualism, because science investigates how things happen. And they learn about the methods used and how they work. And then there is the religion of spiritualism. Now, the religion of spiritualism is the experience you just had. Because religion is about finding what you need, finding what puts you in that place that you long to be, and then helping you get there, helping you remain there, or helping you return there. So mediumship is the science of spiritualism, the method, and the experience. This isn't like a religious experience. That is the religion of spiritualism. And what you bring back from that experience, write it down, put it into practice in your life, that is the philosophy of spiritualism. And I'm going to begin with Reverend Thomas.
It was very good. I'm just trying to find the the words to describe it. It was a very good place. The word cocooned came to mind, feeling safe, no worries. It's just a very pleasant place. Different than we might describe it, an experience in the awakened world. But in general, the last thing I wrote was just good meditation. It's what I would characterize as a very good meditation. Takes you to a place, and sometimes it takes a long time to reveal all that happened during that time. And thank you for the experience.
Yeah, if you can't find the words to describe your experience, then you did it right. and Dylan, how was your experience?
It was calming. I didn't have any, I want to say, I don't even know how to describe it. I didn't have any like physical sensations. It was mostly visual sensations, the images, and a lot of it was symbolism. So like I'll share a little bit. I saw like fire and water symboling the positive and the negative. A lot of colors, darker colors, brighter colors to symbolize the negative and the positive. But it was very calming and very energetic. But overall, good experience.
Good. Yeah, when you get symbols, if you can draw upon cliches. Cliches help me when I interpret dreams. And the interesting thing about cliches, yes, they're like pictures, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But the cliche will have meaning to you. And that's the part to focus on. Not bounce around, well, it could mean this, it could mean that. No, it will resonate. You'll feel a type of resonation when you stumble on it. And for everyone, don't think that mediumship is just what you see with your eyes closed, because mediumship is much more than that. The way the souls commune with us is, again, through emotions, the images, thoughts, other sensations, unexplainable sensations that you may experience. That's the word, experience. It's all in the experience. And during one of the classes that I was teaching, one of the students was very good with colors. So I told them, focus on the colors. If you get a lot of colors, focus on the colors. Determine what the colors might mean, the story that they're saying. Assign values to them. And that those colors will begin to resonate with you. And you will get messages that way. Another one was able to pick up on emotions. Emotions say a lot of things. The emotions we experience. Melancholy. Melancholy tells me, hey, buddy, something's just kind of off a little bit. You're okay, but, something's just off a little bit. And anger. Anger tells us, hey, man, you got to let go of this. Our emotions have messages. They can give us stories. So I'm very glad that you had a good experience with that, Dylan. And Beth, how was your experience?
Quite meaningful. Can't say it was pleasant. Got immediate images, but it's like, okay, I always focus on the images. Let me focus on what I'm feeling. What am I feeling? I'm feeling this pit in my solar plexus. Why am I feeling this weird, icky sensation in my solar plexus? And it's like, ponder. It's trepidation. Trepidation from what I'm seeing. Okay. All right. Whatever. And then a little bit later, I had my eyes shut. So I kept them shut, and it's like, what am I feeling? I'm feeling the pain behind my ear. Like glasses are on too tight, the temples, the legs. There's like a pressure. It was stronger on one side than the other. What the heck does this mean? So I opened it up. Boom. It's the man with the sledgehammer opening up the wall. But anyway, I'll go ahead with the whole message. That book, that antique book that one of my sisters picked up, and something prompted her to give it to me. Something impulsively made me, instead of me going, ick, said, oh, I'll take it. So and the images that immediately came to me before all this started was Marvin as a cat and my dad looking at me. So what I got from that is there's something in that book I'm going to have to delve for. And it's going to be dusty, and it's going to be tiring, and it's going to be smelly, and it's going to be, what else did I say? But anyway, there's going to be a message, and I'm going to have to work to find it. But once I find it, it's going to be like that wall is down, and there's going to be, in that room behind it, Sandy, it was furnished. It wasn't an empty room. It was a furnished room. It was like, okay, what does that mean? Something expands. Whatever's behind that wall is going to be expansive. It's another level of living, perhaps.
I could tell you.
I paid attention in your classes. Can't you tell?
Yeah. I could tell you what it is, but that might ruin the surprise.
No, go ahead.
The souls tell us, and I've read this in several books that are about mediumship and everything. The souls tell us that the deeds we do here, it's just like one of the teachings of Jesus. The deeds we do here are stored up in the soul realm. We build our mansion as Jesus would say, by our deeds. So, and a side note, the primitive Christians are very much like the spiritualists. They did this all the time. They did messages all the time. They held seances all the time. They communed with the departed all the time.
Woohoo! So I got some woo-woo family down,
Yeah.
one side of that family tree of mine.
And Sharon, how was your experience?
Well, it was good. But I kind of was like, I had my eyes closed too, so I wasn't really watching the video, but I was trying to go back to the whole nurturing thing. And I found that I kind of was experiencing some memories from like my grandmother's apartment, which was kind of cool. And I saw a few things there, and then I sort of felt like I kind of felt like my brother was around, and maybe even my mother, but I'm not 100% sure of that. But it was kind of emotional as well. So I just, it felt pretty good. It felt pretty good. I mean, I had a couple other memories of just my trip and everything, but overall, I felt, I won't say it was, I don't know how to word this, but I don't know if it was more a bit of the melancholy, like you mentioned. It wasn't like, there were a few happier images, but then there were some that were, not, or not really bad, but more like the melancholy. So, but overall, it was good.
Good. You all should have gotten some interesting messages there. And if it doesn't come to mind with you, just ponder it sometime. And you've all taken a step into the mysterious experience of life in a different fashion. So before I close, are there any comments or questions any of you would like to make?
I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the exercises.
Good. Good. Well, I was impressed with it. So, if we relax, the souls can tune themselves to our harmonic range. We become negative while they become positive. We become receptive, allowing them to act upon us. And when this occurs, communication may begin. And I'm going to say thank you for allowing me to share this with you. And thank you for your thoughts and your participation in